It's time to talk to the Times' political editor, Steven Swinford. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
Let's start with this story on the front page of the paper. We've got an insight into the government have been reviewing this at length, and they have to because the price tag associated is so steep. How they might reduce disability benefits. What have we learned?
So what we've learned is it's rather than, as Andy Burnham calls it, crude cuts, one of the things they're really keen on is basically swapping cash benefits for tangible support. So something that would help you into work, some kind of, basically different forms of support. And I think that's the idea. And we've got some polling that suggests that actually some benefit claimants quite like that idea. I think the problem with that is that the reality is that those cuts in cash payments will affect household budgets. And it's a very difficult sell. So it feels to me like this is one of the first steps in trying to sell that message that people could accept more support rather than cash benefits, because cash benefits actually disincentivize some people from going into work. PIP is a benefit that people get regardless of whether they're working or not working, but one of the concerns is, and this was raised by a review, that it might be acting as a disincentive for people to work because the cash sums are quite substantial.
And if they reduce it, it might be that they swap that out for other services like healthy food, says the paper, or therapy.
Yeah, and that's the idea. So that is the concept. I would say it's one of those concepts that on paper is, really sounds good, but the reality is that people will protest about it. They will be very upset about it, and for Labour particularly to pass this would be very, very difficult. Just look at all the trouble it got into before when it tried to cut PIP benefits. So the whole thing is hugely sensitive, and for Labour it's all one that they are kind of putting down the line. We think this will all come after the budget when two major reviews report, and then Andy Burnham's got some very difficult decisions ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we've got this review from Sir Stephen Timms, the Disability Minister. The wider problem, Steve, is under present conditions, the cost of PIP is expected to rise to more than £41 billion a year by 2030.
I mean, look, it's easy to give money to people. It's very hard to then take that money away. That is one of the oldest adages in politics, and that is what we're seeing. So, yes, there is an exponential increase in PIP payments, particularly it's a big surge among young people. Yes, it is very clear that the system is not functioning in the way it was designed at all anymore. It's grown into something very different. But actually addressing that will require political will, political courage, and some kind of smart approaches to get people back into work. That is the difficult bit, and nobody, whether they're the Tories or Labour, has been able to do that yet.
Yeah, and actually there hasn't been consensus across the Labour Party yet.
No, I mean, this don't forget, this issue, more than any other, probably was pivotal in ending Keir Starmer's premiership. He never recovered from that huge revolt by Labour MPs and the collapse in his authority that followed. The bad blood was such that he couldn't get over it. So, yeah, this is going to run and run, I would have thought, as an issue.
We've had an interesting morning, Stephen. We had the Conservatives. James Cleverly spoke to us a bit earlier. They want to stop traveller camps. Then we spoke to Danny Kruger of Reform UK. They want to stop foreigners getting benefits. I wonder if you think there's a bit of a race to the right going on.
I mean, there always is, right? We have the right of British politics is more competitive right now than at any other point it has ever been. You have the Tories, you have Reform, and you have Restore, and all are outflanking each other frequently in different ways, and all are taking huge chunks out of one another in the polls. So what we have today is a big press conference from Robert Jenrick. He is the Treasury spokesman for Reform UK, and he's going to be selling his policy, which is stripping millions of foreigners of benefits outright. That is their plan. It's a highly complex plan, and there are a lot of questions about whether it will work. Particularly, it will apply to settled people with settled status from the EU. That is contentious and may not work, but that is their bid. And for Reform, what they want to be doing is talking about this. They want to be talking about kind of issues and policies. What they don't want to be talking about anymore is the kind of scrutiny over Nigel Farage's finances, which we've seen a lot of in recent months. So this is an attempt by them to get back on the front foot in the wake of the Clacton by-election, but it's notable it's Robert Jenrick who we're seeing today. We are not seeing Nigel Farage. So one of the questions, I think, is when are we going to see Nigel Farage?
Yeah, do you have any idea of that? Because we were supposed to see him at a press conference in Clacton on Friday. I headed to Clacton and it was cancelled.
Yeah, no, he decided that he was just going to rest, and he continued to rest over the weekend. Basically, there's some intervention he made was about 3 a.m. on Friday at the Farage Fest, which was this Glastonbury-style festival he held when he kind of did this is sticking 2 fingers up at the establishment, but more importantly, conceded that maybe he should have declared this £5 million gift that he got.
Yeah.
So lots of questions about that continue, and I'm sure they'll go on, but we have a kind of pretty thwonking policy from Reform this morning as it tries to get back on the front foot.
What was that adjective? Say it again. Thwonking.
Thwonking.
It's such a Swinford adjective. I reckon he's the only man I hear use it. And as soon as you use it, I think, that's Steve Swinford.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Excellent.
It's a Swinfordism. I like it a lot.
Steve, thank you. Steven Swinford, political editor
My
of
pleasure.
The Times, with a thwonking great update.
Yeah, he's a thwonking great journalist. You can't get past it. Anna Mikhailova is with us as well. She's our political editor. Morning, Anna.
Morning.
Just to go back to the beginning of the conversation Rosie just had with Matthew Pennycook, I suppose it's an inevitable thing for a housing minister. They've got to find ways to build more houses. But it was interesting to me that the question of 1.5 million houses elided there between an ambition and a commitment, and that's probably the reality where they've got to on it.
Yes, it was interesting, wasn't it? The first word he said was ambition, and then he sort of steered away from that when Rosie highlighted it and said it was still a target. I think what's missing here at the moment is indication specifically from the new Prime Minister on this, because we had Keir Starmer quite clearly say that he considered the target an ambition. He didn't really. He when he announced it, he said it was meant to be so high that it pushed departments and ministers to go further, and that he would be effectively not necessarily expecting it to be met, but expecting it to raise the level that would be met. And I think what we're waiting for is an indication from Andy Burnham whether he has the same approach. Matthew Pennycook in his answer suggests yes, but again, we need that clarification from the top.
Yeah, very good point. Nigel Farage is back as an MP. Reformer talking about foreigners and benefits today.
Yes, so Nigel Farage was re-elected at Clacton, and now we have the party move towards what they have been desperate to get back onto, which is talking about policy, making announcements, and taking up the airways over the summer and creating news, but in a way that they actually are leading, as opposed to questions about their finances and donations. So we'll have a press conference in the next couple of hours, led by Robert Jenrick, their economy spokesman, who's going to announce his plan to shave an extraordinary £50 billion off the benefits bill. And they've already pre-announced a couple of those measures. So it includes going much further in restricting benefits to foreign nationals. But still, 50 billion is such a large figure that we are very much going to be combing through the detail.
Yeah.
Normally, when Reform has these press conferences, they'll publish a document and we will be looking at the small print on that.
We've got Danny Kruger at 8 o'clock, so he can try to explain to us how the money works. But it might be we'll do a bit of that, Anna. Then you'll have to do a bit more digging when the press conference actually happens. Matthew Pennycook was also talking about that alert that took place on Friday. We've had a degree of scepticism from our listeners this morning, Anna. This is just one saying the spokesman has no clue about the amount of credibility that this publicity alert has affected. It's like the boy who cried wolf. What's the Westminster reaction been? Because I just ignored it. It just came on my phone. I just thought it was it was talking about things that hadn't happened and might happen in the future. I thought, why are they bothering me with this? But he said, Matthew Pennycook said, if one person, one property was affected by this in a positive way, it was worth it.
Yes, I thought it was a really interesting argument he took on this, and quite different to the line we have heard so far from government about these alerts. So Matthew Pennycook said that this is all meant to be a general alert system, and effectively rejected the suggestion that it should be targeted. So he defended exactly how it was used. But what's interesting is that when it was being developed by the last Conservative government, we did have the Cabinet Office officially say that it was meant to be, that it would be used as a message, an urgency message to specific areas, to send to specific areas when there is a risk to life. So I think It's not that it should only be used in cases of warning about terror attacks, but when this whole system was being designed at a significant cost, we were being told that it would be used to target, and it would be for things like fire alerts, absolutely, but that it would be for specific areas. So it's just interesting that he is now trying to suggest that it's always intended to be a general system when it wasn't.
Yeah, but good point. I think maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe, if you're not interested in it, you just discount it. And if you are interested in it, maybe it had a positive effect. But it has wound some people up, I think it's fair to say. Anna, great to speak to you. That's
Thanks, Stig.
Anna Mikhailova, our political editor. Someone